I am Harriet Taylor Wollstonecraft, and this is Top Down, a series on late 20th century technology disruptors. We begin with part one of Bill Gates, Prophet of the Personal Computer Revolution, with original content by R. Smith. Shall we begin? On the evening of March 12, 1986, Microsoft Chief Financial Officer Frank Gaudet could not locate company co-founder Bill Gates. It was the eve of Microsoft's public offering, and there had yet to be an agreement made with Goldman Sachs regarding the management fee per share. Showing complete disdain for the excitement surrounding the initial public offering, Gates was not even in the country. Heck, he wasn't even on land. Before he left to parts unknown, Gates gave the order to agree to a fee of 6.13% or less, because Microsoft rival Sun Microsystems had made a similar deal with its underwriter. At 6.13%, Goldman Sachs would receive $1.29 per share. However, the underwriter would not go any lower than $1.31. With Gates unreachable, Gaudet agreed to the terms. Later, Gates said he would have called off the public offering had he been around. And he was very serious. Gates could have cared less about the pennies involved, but the principle meant everything to him. On March 13, 1986, Microsoft shares traded publicly on the New York Stock Exchange for the first time. The shares opened at $25.75 and gained $2 to close the day. From the floor of the exchange, Gaudet called Chief Operating Officer John Shirley to tell him, "It's wild. I've never seen anything like it. Every person here is trading Microsoft and nothing else." By noon, the stock was moving at 1,000 shares a minute, and analysts said they could not remember when a stock had traded more volume in its first day. "I'm pretty happy," Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen told the Seattle Post-Intelligencer. "Everybody involved in Microsoft since the beginning has looked forward to this day." Well, not everyone. As the frenzy occurred on Wall Street, Gates was on a reading vacation off the coast of Australia. In a chartered 56-foot sailing vessel, Gates studied the Great Barrier Reef and plowed through a plethora of reading material for 5 days. "I was sort of pampering myself," Gates said. A few weeks later, Microsoft stock was trading at $35 a share, and a year later, shares hit $90. When that occurred, Gates officially became a billionaire at the age of 31. No industrial tycoon, great financier, or technology mogul had ever crossed that particular frontier to riches at such an early age. However, the computer whiz and business genius has never been too concerned with his riches. "I'm certainly well taken care of in terms of food and clothes," he told the Telegraph. "Money has no utility to me beyond a certain point. Its utility is entirely in building an organization and getting resources out to the poorest in the world." Bill Gates became a young man, and Microsoft became an entity, at the threshold of a new era that ushered in the personal computer. He combined widely known technology with the practical application of extraordinarily powerful business ideas. Gates is a master of software technology, and he is a brilliant manager who has found inspiration even in crisis, and Microsoft has seen its share of calamity. For instance, the spread of personal computers to homes accompanied and accelerated the sensational rise of the Internet, and Gates got out of the blocks well after the starting gun sounded, but his powerful response catapulted him to the mantle of prophet of the revolution. Meeting the challenge of change is crucial to Gates' pragmatic approach to realizing powerful visions. He's been a spokesperson for change, whose actions have spoken louder than words in making him both prime mover and chief figurehead of the age of information. As of 2023, his investments outside of Microsoft are worth $100 billion, and his shares of Microsoft clear $20 billion. While he cares about his status among the wealthiest in the world, he cares very little about the wealth itself. He gives more away to charity these days than he keeps. The Microsoft empire began from the top down through very clear mandates, and it stayed that way for many years as Microsoft reached impossible heights. Today, Gates is still involved heavily in the day-to-day operation of Microsoft, but his company is so large he can no longer manage it all on his own. Instead, he hires the brightest minds in the world to run most actions at Microsoft through small teams that design the technology found in most of today's smart devices, from cars and computers to refrigerators and stoves. But where did it all begin? Let's find out. William Henry Gates III was born in 1955 to a wealthy and socially connected Seattle family. Gates was the youngest of three children, with two older sisters. His father, Bill, was a prominent Seattle lawyer and World War II veteran. His mother, Mary, was the day-to-day parent of the children, while she volunteered for various organizations and served on corporate boards. The tight-knit family thrived on competition, including board games, cards, and ping pong. They were a family of rituals as well, such as mandatory Sunday dinners and their tradition of wearing matching pajamas on Christmas Eve. The Gates home was a peaceful and regulated household until the family's youngest member became an adult overnight at the age of 11. It was at this time that Gates' father says his son became an increasing headache for the family. As a father, I never imagined that the argumentative young boy who grew up in my house, eating my food and using my name, would be my future employer. But that's what happened, the senior Gates told the Wall Street Journal after he became the head of the Gates Foundation, his son's philanthropic venture. The young Bill Gates was a diligent learner and a voracious reader who read the entirety of the World Book Encyclopedia series, but his parents were worried about him because he enjoyed books more than he enjoyed people. His growing storage of knowledge also led to many questions from international affairs to business to the general nature of life itself. While his father appreciated his expanding intellectuality, it also created a difficult child who was willful and hard to control. In particular, Gates had explosive arguments with his mother. Because of the tension at home, Gates' parents sent him to a child psychologist who offered his parents the advice to ease up on their son because he would ultimately win the battle for independence. His parents did just that, and the boy received unprecedented freedoms from the age of 13. Gates went to a private school where he excelled at mathematics and became fascinated by personal computing, then in its formative stage. He spent nights using the free computers at the University of Washington, and he was a page in the state legislature, as well as a congressional page in Washington, D.C. During his senior year, he took a break from school to work as a programmer for a power plant in southern Washington. After graduating high school, Gates went to Harvard to study law, but the idea never really clung to him in a way that seemed lasting. There was little doubt that he would leave Harvard without a degree. While he excelled in his computer classes at the Ivy League school, he was not a favorite of professors or his peers. There's one in a handful who come through in computer science that you know from the day they show up on the doorstep they will be very, very good, said Professor Tom Cheatham, director of the Center for Research and Computing Technology at Harvard. No doubt he was going to go places. Gates had a bad personality and a great intellect. In a place like Harvard, where there are a lot of bright kids, when you are better than your peers, some tend to be nice and others obnoxious. He was the latter. Gates played poker on some nights, but he usually worked in the Aiken Computer Center because that was when the students used the machines the least. Sometimes, an exhausted Gates would sleep on the lab's work tables because he didn't have the energy to make it to his dorm room at the Currier House. There were many mornings when I would find him dead asleep on the tables, recalled Henry H. Leitner, a Harvard peer who shared Gates' interest in computers. I remember thinking he was not going to amount to anything. He seemed like a hacker, a nerd. I knew he was bright, but with those glasses, his dandruff, sleeping on tables, you sort of formed that impression. I obviously didn't see the future as clearly as he did. Gates dropped out of Harvard early because of his excitement over the endless possibilities of the personal computer and his growing focus on the new industry. His parents were uncertain about the choice of their independently spirited child. Gates said, "My parents weren't all that excited about their son announcing he was dropping out of a fine university to start a business in something almost nobody had heard of called microcomputers." Gates became a college dropout with a dream, like so many others. But where does he go from here? What makes Gates different from other dropouts and dreamers? We'll find out in the coming episodes of Top Down Bill Gates, Prophet of the Personal Computer Revolution. In Part 2, Gates teams up with his enthusiastic friend Paul Allen, moves to New Mexico, and forms Microsoft before taking over the personal computer market and battling antitrust action after accusations of engaging in monopolization. Thanks for listening. Until next time, I am Harriet Taylor Wollstonecraft with original content by R. Smith. Enjoy the moment. Harriet Taylor Wollstonecraft is the AI-generated voice of Christy Carlo, a professional communicator found at christycarlo.com. Consent to use Christy's AI-generated voice has been granted by purchase through Jenny by Lovo, a voice production platform.